Hey, and welcome to the Explainer. Pretty much every country is trying to figure out how to slash its energy consumption. And it turns out our buildings are a massive piece of that puzzle. So, in this Explainer, we're going to take a close look at how Portugal has built its own system for energy certification. It's a really interesting model with some valuable lessons. Let's get into it. First up, let's start with a number that puts everything into perspective: 40%. That's the share of Europe's final energy consumption that goes into our buildings, both homes and businesses. It's a huge number, and it really drives home why taking action on the efficiency of our houses and offices is an absolute top priority. All right, to really get our heads around the Portuguese model, here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the specific challenge the country's facing. Then, we'll break down what this energy certificate actually is. We'll meet the key player in the whole system, the qualified expert. After that, we'll see how efficiency is calculated. And finally, we'll look at what Portugal has achieved and what's next. Okay, let's start at the beginning. Just like everywhere else in Europe, improving the energy efficiency of buildings isn't just a nice idea for Portugal. It's a strategic necessity for hitting their climate and decarbonization goals. The main tool Portugal developed for this is the Energy Certification System, or SCE. This whole system, which is managed by the country's energy agency, ADNE, is really the backbone of their strategy to size up and improve the performance of all their buildings. So what exactly is this certificate? Well, if you own a property or you're even thinking about buying or renting one in Portugal, this is something you definitely need to know about. Think of it as the energy ID card for a building. The certificate does two key things. First, it gives your place a grade, from A+, which is like the valedictorian of efficiency, all the way down to G, which means it's performing pretty poorly. But here's what's really important. It's not just a report card. It also gives you a personalized list of suggestions for improvement. Things like swapping out windows or adding insulation, so you have a clear roadmap on how to cut your energy use. And having one isn't optional. Portuguese law makes it mandatory in 4 key situations: for all brand new buildings, for any building undergoing a major renovation, anytime you sell or rent out a property, and for public buildings over 250 square meters that see a lot of foot traffic. It's also worth knowing that this document has an expiration date. For homes and small commercial spaces, it's valid for 10 years. For larger service and commercial buildings, the timeframe is a bit shorter, 8 years for the newer certificates. Once that time is up, you've got to get it renewed. Let's talk about the person who makes all of this happen. Because behind every single one of these certificates, there's a professional. So let's find out who they are and how this key role is structured. This is the million-dollar question, right? Who actually has the authority to inspect a building and sign off on this official document? Well, it can't just be anyone. And this is where the Portuguese model gets very specific. That person is the Perito Qualificado, or PQ for short. To become one, you need a degree in architecture or engineering. Plus, and this is a big one, a minimum of 5 years of verifiable professional experience. And then, on top of that, your qualifications have to be officially recognized by ADNE, the energy agency. This system guarantees a high standard of knowledge and quality across the country. And here is a detail that really defines the Portuguese model. What does it cost for a qualified professional to even get into the system? The pre-registration fee is just 25 euros plus tax. That's it. It's an incredibly low barrier to entry, and it's designed that way on purpose to foster a wide, competitive network of experts. So we know what the certificate is and who issues it. Now let's get into the how. What method do they actually use to give a building that famous A to G rating? And this is a super important point that a lot of people get wrong. The energy rating is not based on your actual electricity or gas bills. It doesn't measure your personal habits. Instead, the efficiency is calculated based on the building's physical characteristics: its insulation, its windows, its heating and hot water systems, and so on. The current method in Portugal is what's known as a relative system. Basically, the calculated performance of your building is compared to a theoretical reference building. Your grade depends on whether you do better or worse than that standard. Now, there is an ongoing debate about switching to an absolute method, which would use fixed consumption ranges. This just goes to show that the system isn't set in stone. It's evolving. On top of what the expert charges for their work, which can vary, the property owner also has to pay an official registration fee. For homes, this fee ranges from €28 for a studio or one-bedroom apartment up to €65 for the largest houses. Okay, now we get to the results. After more than a decade with this system in place, what's the real-world impact been? Is it actually working? Here's a key number. The building sector has managed to cut its primary energy consumption by 6.5%. That's a solid step forward. But there's still work to do to hit the 2030 target of an 11% reduction. On the renewable energy side, the results are even more impressive. In 2023, local renewable energy production in buildings shot up by 25.5%, blowing way past the goal they had set for 2030. And all of this translates directly into a massive environmental win. CO2 emissions from the building sector have been slashed by nearly half, a 45.7% reduction. That shows a clear and powerful trend towards decarbonization. But this chart, showing the spread of energy ratings, reveals where the real challenge lies. Back in 2013, the data already showed that most certified homes were clustered in the C and D classes. And while there's been progress, the biggest job is still improving that huge stock of buildings that are stuck with average or low efficiency. So we'll end with a question for you to chew on. Thinking about this whole Portuguese model, with its qualified experts, its relative calculation method, and its specific costs for technicians and owners, do you think a system like this could be effective where you live? What parts would you adapt? The conversation about how to make our homes more sustainable is more open than ever. Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.